Hello, welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent Clark, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur, longtime coach in professional baseball, coaching in 3 World Series. And I am with one of my favorite guests, Mellisa Hughes. Hi, Mellisa. How are you doing?
Great. How are you, Trent?
I'm awesome. I'm even better now. I get to hang out and talk with you. Come on,
I'm super excited to be here. I just love talking to you. You always make me laugh.
Really? That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to have some fun. I'm going to try to make you laugh. We're going to try not to cry because we might do
Okay.
that too. All right. But welcome for everybody to the show. We love our guests. Thankful that you're here, and we are a show all about bringing you the one percenters to talk about those challenges in life. And the Winners Find a Way show is based on the quote that winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win, by Chris McChesney and Sean Covey. Love that from the 4 Disciplines of Execution. If you are currently out there struggling, challenged, I just encourage you, like, this is the show. You're looking to become elite, looking to be a business owner, looking to be a better athlete, just a better person. I think you're in the right place. And today, Mellisa Hughes comes on and brings the big noise. So Mellisa, tell them where they can find you first.
Yes, you can find me on TikTok. We're actually live right now at Mellisa Lee Hughes, or on Instagram at Mellisa Lee Hughes. And it's Lee as Lea. That's all one word. LinkedIn, Mellisa Lee Hughes. Facebook, Mellisa Hughes. Or my email, melissa@melissaleehughes.com.
I love that it's in your message, actually. People can't find Mellisa Hughes. Like, just go to her message right here. If you can visibly see this on the show, we got. And for all, Melissa's huge, massive TikTok following, hello. It's good to see you out there. So excited to join the Mellisa Hughes contention. Like, it's just a huge group. And we're going to talk about your following, which is awesome, and how that was created. But let's first of all get to know Mellisa Hughes a little bit. Mellisa, we both now live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but we used to live in Chicago, Illinois, where you are from. Yes, homecoming queen of the Mundelein Mustangs. Got her on my show. Like, what up? Right here. Everybody. It's not for everybody, but, when you get the homecoming queen, you got to let them know. You got to let them know that, they're on and it's happening. All right. So you have this unique business. You are a TikTok coach. You TikTok coach for our contention at Athletic Influencer Marketing, AIM, where we have athletes in the NIL space, and Mellisa helps our contingency learn to get better at being online and shooting their video. So you are an absolute expert, but you are probably best known for being this TikToker who created a real environment around being a spouse, a mother, and you were featured on the Kelly Clarkson show. You're an author of 2 fabulous books. One, certainly that She Can Laugh, for all those moms, mothers, wives out there, right? Everyone who's out there, you female contingency getting. And then your children book, that Mommy Loves You When.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Like, walk me through, like, why you decide, like, hey, I got to write a book. Why did you think, like, this is a great idea and this is what I just have to do?
Well, I actually wrote She Can Laugh in 2016, was when it was published. So it was before I was on TikTok or anything. And that book is all about helping women becoming spiritually, emotionally, and physically healthy. So it was also, Trent, before everybody was all organic and loved kale. I want to say I was on the cusp of that wave. But yeah, it was just it's a whole message about helping women live in their faith, live in like healthy with not just like physically, but also in their mind and their soul. So, and it's based off that scripture in Proverbs 31, she can laugh at the days to come.
Love it. Love it. And then, so let's take me through, you've been through some trials here, right? Like, that's just a part of life that's happened, and never easy. So let's talk a little bit about, Kelly Clarkson show on there twice, right?
Yeah. They booked me for 2 segments. Yeah.
Yeah. For 2 segments, right? Which is pretty cool. What's one thing that most people don't know about you?
Well, Trent, I am a terrible driver. And even in high school, I was voted worst driver for my senior superlative. Most people don't know that, and I've worked on it, but I'm working on it.
Nice. Hey, work in progress. That's right. Hey, I use driving all the time in my talks and I do it sometimes on shows because I use driving as that epitome of confidence game, right? Confidence is about prep and
Mhm.
reps and how
Yeah.
prepared we are to drive and then how many repetitions we get again and again. Like most of us, I'm very old, by the way. I'm not like you, this young mom, right? Like I never thought about getting in my car at 35 years old. If my wife said, "Hey, can you go to the grocery store?" I wouldn't be like, "Oh, how do I start this thing again? Like,
Right.
how do I get it into drive? Like, oh, red means which? Like, stop. Like, we're so confident. Like, I'm monitoring
Mhm.
all the traffic, the signs, eating a sandwich, calling someone. Like, it's awful, right? I'm doing way too much multitasking, right? Because I'm so confident in my ability
Mhm.
to do it, right? So that's it's pretty unique. And I don't know, like Melissa, I don't know if you should tell these people because you know how many people get on women drivers, right? Like people are like out there. So I don't know as the mantra for women if you can ever admit this to anybody. All right.
I know. Let's just have it be our secret. No
Well,
one will know.
yeah, for sure it is now. I mean, like it'll always be just in stone, right? Okay. So you get going on this thing, and so you wrote the book
Yeah.
and you've been on missionary work in the UK.
Yeah.
You are married
Yeah. 10 years.
to yeah, and your husband is from the UK.
Yeah, he was born in Scotland, grew up in Wales, moved here when he was 10. So, yeah, and we were able to live there for about 4 years, because obviously he's from there, so I piggybacked off of his citizenship.
And you've done missionary work over there. You've done a lot of things like love the culture, love the community.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, love living in the UK.
Yeah, nice. So, hey, she's not hating on Grand Rapids, people. Grand Rapids, Michigan's a fine place. Like, we're good here too.
Yeah,
So, but let's talk about, um, one of the biggest challenges in your life
yeah.
came down to an event in the UK.
Yeah. So we had decided to move over there. I was 25 and my husband was 23, and we moved to the UK to start a church, which is obviously like to go and help people, and we're full of excitement and faith. And a month after moving there, my husband got into a horrible car accident, and we had at that point no car, no house, no furniture. I actually found out I was also pregnant, and the only place that would rent to us at that point was a funeral home in a valley. So we lived in a valley and actually after that, about a year and a half later, the only place that would rent to us was a cemetery. So we lived during that time on a funeral home and then a cemetery in a valley, and it was just 3 years of really difficult challenge.
Yes. Yes. So your husband was in a horrific auto accident,
Yeah.
which took, months and months of rehabilitation,
Yeah. He
off
couldn't
off
work. I couldn't work.
yeah, couldn't work because
Mhm.
you became which you didn't have training for or signed up for, but you became the nurse
Right. Yeah. I
because
became a full-time
that's the
carer.
gig.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're like, wow, I said these vows a little while ago, like in sickness and in health, but like I didn't know I was gonna be challenged so
Yeah.
soon. Like this is gonna be a go, right?
Yes. Yep. I remember giving him sponge baths in our living room, like the whole thing. It was a really, really hard time. And especially like when you're going over there to like be a help and suddenly you become like in your most vulnerable state and like actually in like a huge place of need was
Yeah.
super humbling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that yeah, you kind of grew up as that person who served those needs. You were taught like, hey, go out, do the mission work. There are people that are less fortunate than we are. Go out there, be a life force to people. And you're like now raising your hand. Like, hey, I'm one of those people now.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Walk me through
And
that. Walk me through that, like that transition in your heart, right? Like, because I don't know, we're Americans. We're a prideful people, right? We're like, I don't need any help. I don't need, I can do everything, like,
Yep.
Like, what's your stance? Like, how does that transition?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I think like looking at it, it was really, a huge thing, like a huge core value of mine, Trent, is my faith. And so when it all first happened, I was all like, hey, it's okay, everything's gonna get better. God's called us here, it's gonna be all good. But because things like didn't necessarily get better, in fact, like things seemed like it just like hardship after hardship. It ended up being, for me, I wasn't really being real or honest with myself. And you can never really move forward until you come to that like real, honest place. And it wasn't until a friend of mine called me from back home, and this was like a year and a half in, and she was like, hey, Mellisa, how you doing? And I was like, we've had some challenges, but we're good. We're okay.
Mm,
It's going to get better. And I've got faith and blah, blah, blah. And she just said to me on the phone, she's like, Mellisa, it's okay to say that things are not okay right now. And Trent, I could not get those words out of my mouth because I felt like I'd have to answer a question that I was totally unprepared to answer, which was, okay, but then if God is good, then why do I feel like he's called us into something so bad?
mm,
And so it was really like under the surface, I was having like my core value of my faith was really being shaken.
yep.
And I really had no answer. And like, I felt like I kind of like broke in that moment. And it was a point of like leaning into the pain and leaning into like that question, which was a very unknown question to me.
Yeah, I hear that, and I've had some friends who have been that ultimate, like the glass is half full. In fact, it's more than half full. It's three quarter. Like, all right, you
Yeah.
can argue with me all day long. Like, I don't even know if it's water, by the way. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, and there is that power of positivity, and I honor it and I respect it. But there's also where I've lost. I shouldn't say lost. I don't know how to describe it, but I have definitely felt some animosity towards positive people where I feel like it's really not authentic and genuine anymore, right?
Right.
It's like, yeah, I think you're just BSing me now. Like, are you like I'm like asking like, hey, are you trying to convince me it's okay? Because I'm sitting over here, I know it's not okay, but yet I'm sitting right in here to lean in, to hug, to do whatever you need because I'm not leaving and I'm here for you. But don't sell me a line of garbage and ask me to believe it because, you know, we know truth, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
we lean into that and go, I don't think you're being genuine or authentic right now. And so you're either this force of positivity, but it also can be like you might be delusional, right?
right. Well, really. And I think like for me being completely transparent, it was like I wasn't in a place where I was willing to look at the hard stuff, right? Because like if we feel like we're failing or we're not doing good enough or it's not going the way that we thought, it's better to make it seem positive and happy as opposed to being like, well, maybe, maybe I need to look at some stuff or maybe I need to assess some things and really like unleashing the shame and taking a good hard look at ourselves. And that's not easy to do. And it takes courage to do that.
Yeah. That is courage, great word. Um, you know, it's a hard one for me, right, Mellisa? Because I believe in the power of positive thinking, right? I mean, I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in getting right and all those things. So, I would never tell anybody, you know what you need to do? You need to go to the negative place. That's not what I'm gonna ask of anybody. But I do think there's this process that we have to walk through authenticity and face what we're dealing with and
Mhm.
know that it's going to be okay,
Yeah.
like good or bad, like we know what we're up against, and let's not walk around in denial about what's
Mhm.
really happening here, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
walk me through that.
No, it's just that like, again, like for me, like my faith was really important to me. And I always I had this belief system that I didn't realize that I had. But obviously, Trent, like if you think God's good, you're going to trust him. But you're going to, like, for me, I thought then my life should be good. But the question is like, is God still good when your life is bad? And that, like, I didn't have an answer for. But what I
Mm,
ended up discovering, and this was like what, like, the revelation or like the epiphany that I got, was that, like, while I wanted like a pain-free life, and that's what I thought was being promised to me, I
mm,
was being trusted with a profound life, because you can't have, a triumph without a tragedy. You can't have a really great story without something happening to
yeah,
make it an awesome story. And like, if you look at like the person of Jesus, he had the resurrection, but he also had the cross. And so it's both. And
yeah,
like living in the mountaintop and the valley, if you want to live like your most profound, like the fullest expression of life, you have to have both. And I never saw that before. So, like, appreciating the valley and knowing that, like, that is where we grow. And that's where, like, we face the hard things let me tell you something, Trent. You definitely become a lot more empathetic after you have suffered,
yeah.
right? You definitely become a lot more like compassionate and humble after you've gone through something. So thank God for those times in a way, because you're
Yeah.
able to be like a more whole person.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. It's funny that you say it. I feel like I've been through some things in my life, right, Melissa? And I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, I don't know on a scale 1 to 10 how bad it's been, right? Um, but I gotta tell you, like, I score like negative numbers on the empathy gene, right? Like it's like rub some dirt in it. You're not hurt. And
Right.
so and I don't know. Part of that was like when I went through the hard times, I went through the valley and I went around it, I went through it, I went over it, I went under it. Like I learned how to, find a way, right? And
Budget. Yeah.
yeah, no one ever said like, "Hey man, like, you just need to like I feel so bad for you and this and that." Like they were just like suck it up, man. Like, this is
Yeah.
the way it is. Like, and I was like, wow, like, so I didn't get a lot of empathy. And I'm not saying, my mom was more empathetic than my dad for sure, but like, it's a hard thing. Like, and I'd like to say I'm more empathetic today, and I definitely am. Like, I'm actually in the positive scale now. I'm not negative numbers, but like, I do actually score where they just go, you should just go away and not talk to people anymore. But I don't know if it's like made me a 9 or 10, you know what I'm saying? Which I think that power that you got from that, I think is huge.
Mm.
And, one of the things that I'm always challenged with is we address that good and bad, right? Is that I hear a lot of people go, you know what? Like, where are you at now, God? Things are bad. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's fair. But like every time you got something good in your life, or you like, hey, God ordained, or was it, hey, look at me? I don't know if you know or not,
Right.
I'm kind of a big deal. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I just did? I just got
Yeah.
this many followers. I just won a World Series. I just did this. Like,
Mhm.
did I do it? Or am I, when all things are good for me, like, Lord, thank you for blessing me in this. Thank you for giving me this platform to see people and help them. And like, I'm a
Yeah.
blessed guy. So when people go the good and the bad, when it's bad, it's like, Lord, where you at? Where you at?
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, well, when it was good, were you like, hey, God, thanks for walking with me, man, lifting me up?
Right.
Because I don't
Right.
always hear that, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So
That's
that's
so
a tough one
true.
for me. All right. Um, so you become a TikTok coach. How did you become this TikTok extraordinaire? What was the deal with
Mhm.
like you're okay, you're an author. I'm sure they're like, hey, get on some social media. Like, yeah, okay, fine. But like my understanding is you did a post, one
Uh-huh.
post,
Uh-huh.
and that one post, just like my first one, which got one like. Thanks, mom. And thanks, sis. And and you're like, you got how many? How many likes on your first post?
It was, yeah, 22 million.
Oh yeah, just 22 million. That
Yeah.
was more than my sister and my cousin, the two I
Right.
got. So walk me through how that all started.
Yeah. It's a wild story. But when we moved home, I had gotten a job. COVID happened, lost my job during COVID, was like, what the heck? What am I going to do now? And I ended up working in childcare, like dropping my kids off at one end of the building and me going and looking after other people's kids, which was not the dream. And I was really just like, God, what's going on? And then felt in January of 2021 out of nowhere, just that I should start posting videos online. And I was like, I just felt like it was just like a sign everywhere. So I talked to my husband about it. Hey, I feel like God's telling me I should post videos online. So we prayed, God, if this is something Mellisa should do, would you just make it clear? 5 days later, Trent, I randomly uploaded a video of my kids sledding that I was trying to figure out how to even post on TikTok. And the next morning I woke up and it had 22 million views and I landed a spot on the Kelly Clarkson show. We felt like that was a pretty clear sign.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like that's I don't know if there's ever been a hit over the head sign before, but I think that seems pretty clear, right?
Right. So I continued working and I had no idea. Like I did not know a thing about TikTok or anything. So I was trying to just figure it out. And so I worked the childcare job and I grew my account while posting TikToks in my car on my lunch break. And I grew my account to, I think when I left, about 190,000 followers. And now I'm at 227 today.
227,000 followers. Okay. So by the way, if, in the NIL space, we can get you all sorts of contracts, by the way, Mellisa, just so you know, like, you ever want to come and be an AIM client for us, like, just let us know. And then, so you work with us because you are an influencer and you help other people. So you take and work with some of our athletes who are learning like, hey, how do I get a better following? How do I make an engaging video, which is a cool thing. Now, let's come back to the beginning for a second.
Okay.
You're this kid, you're the superstar over here at Mundaline. and you're walking through the hall going, man, I can't wait till one day I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to be a wife. This is going to be great for me. No?
No, I know.
What do you mean, no? You're like the mom champion. Let's walk me through this.
I never wanted to be a mom. So my mom had like a terrible birth experience with me and it always freaked me out. I'm terrible with the doctor. Terrible. So the thought of like, just the process of a woman having a bit, like, I'm out. I faint at needles. So I never wanted to be a mom.
You have 2 kids.
The practical side.
I just want to go for everybody out there to be clear. Melissa has 2 kids. All right?
Yes. And Trent, I had them without pain relief.
Ooh.
And we just have a moment. Like this is, whatever.
No. Big props. Because, like, listen.
Because I'm scared of needles. So
listen, I love you because this is my wife. So, you talked about at the beginning, right? Like, hey, I'm this, freaky girl out of college who digs kale. Like, we were going to Whole Foods driving an hour in 1994 to go get organic foods in Ann Arbor, Michigan, an hour. And I was with the Tigers and my wife's like, we have to eat right because I'm not putting anything in my body that's not going to serve. Right. And so we have 5 children. Right. Yeah. Wow. And there's never been anything in my wife at a childbirth. In fact, we had the last one at home. Right.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I love it. And I'm like, I'm watching all 5 of these going, you sure? Because like, I'm like, you know what? Give me something. Like, I'm all right with it. Like, I'm feeling the pain. So woo, I don't know, Mellisa. I think you're a brave soul. For all you women out there, like, God bless you. Like, woo. But let's come back to this valley just for a minute. And I don't want to relive it. And listen, this is very important for you out there. Like, you have these challenges in your life and you do not need to relive those challenges, but sometimes you have to revisit them.
Yeah.
And, you talk about like, I was going to have this pure life. I'm a faithful person. And by the way, my initial view of Christianity and faith and a higher power was when you walked with the higher power, when you walked with the Lord for you and I, like, that meant like problems went away. Like, I literally went to my first men's group thinking, I have issues, man. I have marital issues. Like, I have issues in my life. I have job issues. These people are Christians and they don't have any of these problems. And I sat this men's group, listen to this guy who's going through a divorce and a sick kid. I'm like going, what are you talking about? This isn't supposed to be at the church. Like, you guys did this all wrong. Like, and did I learn? Man.
Yeah. Right.
So I want to go back to this, revisiting this time. You are quote unquote living in the valley at a funeral
Literally.
home next to a cemetery where people are just dying to go. I had to get that in. Yeah, I just slipped in a dad joke right there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a dad joke.
All right. And so I go back to the challenge of, is it good? So I was at an event yesterday with Jeremy Poinsetino. I don't know. I can't say his name right. And he is like an 8-time U.S. Blind Golf Association champion.
Wow.
And we played golf yesterday, and he shot a 38 on the back nine. And I'll just say I didn't. Right? Mine was a few more than that. All right.
Okay.
And so I'll just get to go there. All right. And I'm like going, man. And he talked about these events in our lives. And is it good? Is it bad? Like, I am the U.S. blind golf champion. Is that good? Maybe. Could be. Hey, I went blind. Is that bad? I went blind at 19 years old. Is that bad? Maybe. Because I could tell you, as he talked about what a blessing that's been in his life, to be, on television, to be a public speaker, to build a relationship with a father who is his caddy, and he and his dad won the U.S. Blind Golf Association because he doesn't do anything without his father, his caddy, who lines him up for every shot. He has to execute what his dad asks him to do, and they have a system of that, right? So he would look back on that and go, man, if you're looking back, that was pretty good. But at the moment, we're like, label that. That's bad. There's no way that's good. And you're in this valley, and that's got to be bad, right?
Well, and that's funny because that is exactly what I thought it was. And then when you look at it, I don't want to go back. And I'm
Sure.
sure this is not like, that's not like, okay, I did it now it's never going to happen again. I'm sure. Well, I don't want to say that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Life is full of mountaintop and valley experiences, but what I realized, and this is like a quote that I love, is from Billy Graham: mountaintop experiences are for sights and inspiration, but the fruit grows in the valleys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about like the valley seasons of life, like Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It really is a time that like you develop so much. Like pictures get developed in a dark room, right?
Right.
But we don't want to go in the dark room. We don't want to be in the valley. It's uncomfortable. It's hard, but that's where we get molded and shaped. That's where we grow. And so like whenever now I see somebody going through a valley season, I'm like, you know what? I know it sucks, but there's a blessing in it. There really is. And obviously, like, I would never wish on somebody to go through pain. And there are things that are just tragic, I don't think that that's ever warranted. And I don't think that stuff ever comes our way. But I think that God is so good that he can use negative circumstances for our benefit. You know what I'm saying? And so it can be a time that can be used and turned around for something good and something positive.
Yeah.
So I just think for anyone right now that's going through a challenge or something where you feel like the rug's been ripped out from under you, I'm like, hey, you know what? If it's this, you're in the middle of the story and God's writing your story. And if it's not good yet, it's not done. And you're in the middle of an incredible story.
Yeah, I like that. I love the quote, you win or you learn. Right? As your husband's a rugby player,
Mm-hmm.
and man, like, that's a tough sport, right? Like, and you get beat up, and when you win, you're like, oh, that was awesome, right? Like, and when you lose, like, now I'm beat up and I lost. Like, man, like, I want to learn the lesson of what just happened, because I don't like the way this feels. I can be beat up and I won and I don't feel nearly as bad, right? But if I get beat up and I lose, man, like, I want to learn that lesson. It's like we learn so much sometimes for our losses. But I'll go back to this quote, Mellisa. Like, I'm doubt. Did you go to James 1:2 right in the middle of this? Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters,
right,
whenever you face trials of many kinds, because that the testing of your faith produces perseverance.
Yeah. And
Like,
perseverance
walk me through
character.
that. Walk me through how you persevered through that.
Yeah, I feel like it really was. This sounds weird, but I feel like the way that you persevere is you lean into the pain.
Yeah.
It's like you almost have to say, like, you kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go like the whole like childbirth analogy. If you tense up, it makes it worse. But when you
Yeah.
almost like surrender to the season and you're like, this is where I am, I'm in a valley, it sucks, it's hard, like, but I want to learn the lesson. And you open yourself up and you lean into the hard and you allow yourself to be in that space and you take a good hard look at all the stuff that you don't want to. You allow yourself to be uncomfortable. You allow yourself to be vulnerable and you lean into it rather than being like, look at so and so and I wish I was here and I wish I was there. It's like, well, you're not. You're here. What are you like? What is God trying to teach you here? What can you learn from this? What are you experiencing and how are you growing here and now? And let's like lean into that so that you can move forward.
Love it. You know, and I'm reminded of like Tom Brady. He talks about being in the pocket and he's like, man, I throw the ball and I'm like Gumby. I don't want to like tense up and go, oh, I'm going to get hit and react like, because when I tense up, like this is when the injuries happen, when
Yeah.
I'm loose as a goose. And I'm reminded of like, you know, the people that have survived really horrible car accidents and they were asleep, right? They're like, oh, hey, phew, they get tossed around like a pinball and like, whoa, nothing happened. But the person who's sitting in there gripping the wheel, tenses up everything, broken femurs, hips are dislocated, you know,
Yeah.
like the whole thing goes pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So we have this thing that, you know, we have this built-in natural, you know, defense mechanism, right? It's
Mhm.
and it's built to save us, right? Like, and it's natural. So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to be remiss here as coming back to your TikTok coach. I'd
Yeah.
be remiss if we didn't give, you know, hey, if I am on social media right now and video rules the day, you
Yeah.
know, and I might be this example of video killed the radio star, by the way. You know, like maybe I was better on radio than being video. So if you're gonna be on this right now, give us 3 to 5 tips that we need to know right now
I
about like
got you.
boom, how let you know if you're gonna make a good video and be intentional about it. What do the folks need to know?
Yes. So the most important thing is if you want to grow on social media right now, the number one thing is you got to turn up to add value to people. If you're there to be like, "Ooh, follow me," and you're not willing to like understand your audience and add value to them, just no. You need to think in every video, how is this going to help somebody? How is this going to add value? That's the most important thing. The second most important thing is how you deliver that content. So like right now on this podcast, we're like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, best thing, that number one thing people don't know about Mellisa. That's not going to fly. You've got to learn how to say more or less. You've
Good.
got
I'm
to
glad
learn how to
I'm glad we're
say
gonna get no views on this video. Thank
we're
you.
gonna get yeah, we got to chop it up. But it's a fast-paced platform, so you got to learn how to say more, less, and more succinctly. And you need to give a hook at the beginning of your video. And so it's something that would like entice your viewer to watch. So like where a lot of people say the punchline at the end, you would say the punchline at the beginning. So you'd say like 3 mistakes I made when I was going through the valley, right? And then you say 1, 2, and 3, and you give the value, you add value to your audience. So you got to have the value, you got to add the hook, and then you also really need to let go of the professionalism. So when I was first, like I had that video pop, and then I was trying to grow on TikTok, and I was doing terrible. And my husband, who is awesome, like he is the straightest shooter. Like I'm all like, yeah, everyone's great. And he's like, no, they're not. Like, he's like, no, he will say the truth. And he has been instrumental in like my life and in my growth. And he's very wise. And so anyway, I call him one day and I'm like, hey, like, yeah, I'm just bummed. Like my videos aren't doing well. And I don't know why. He's like, well, I'll tell you why. He's like, your content sucks. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to turn up. He's like, you've got such a great personality and you're talking to the camera. Like, you're not letting anybody see your personality. He's like, you got to talk to the camera like it's your best friend. And he was really giving me he was encouraging me. He was giving me a backhanded compliment, but I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And so I realized like you need to engage with people like you're sitting on the couch chatting to your best friend,
Yeah.
right? And
that doesn't come in a studio with the right
no,
lighting and makeup and, hey, do I have eyeliner? Because mine is pop right now. Like, it's on your sofa, right? Like,
yeah,
come on, grab your favorite beverage and let's sit down and let's have it out, right?
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
Okay, hey, good tips for me. That's authenticity, right? Like, this
yeah,
isn't, and this is what people value, because I tell you what, we haven't, the talking heads on, the big media, no one trusts them anymore. Like, nobody. Right? Like, oh, I'm going to get decked out and then I'm going to give you the news at my perspective. And I'm only going to give you 40% of the information and what I want you to know, but not everything. And you're like,
yeah,
I'm stopped listening to you at like, hello. Like,
right,
yeah.
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 So
It's brutal. Okay. So that's good. All right. So let's finish here
mhm.
with, you know, a lot of people are going through it right now. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. I'm going to ask you 3 questions and they got to
Okay,
be quick.
okay,
The first question is, you coach a lot of people and you've worked with a lot of friends and people in the market that have done very well.
mhm.
And as you meet people through this world, what do you see in people that most people don't see in themselves?
Hmm. That's a really good question.
I only ask bad ones usually, so this is good.
I would say honestly, probably just the reality that they can do it. And my business coach says this, and I think it's so brilliant. She says, if you believe you can, you can.
Yeah.
And I just think for most people, they just don't believe that they can. And they've never, and that's honestly even something for myself, like believing that you can.
Yeah.
Um, so that would probably be one thing that I've noticed is just believing that it's the belief that you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's some convincing there sometimes that takes, but I love Henry Ford's, quote, right? Whether you believe you can, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Right.
And
Exactly.
you're like, oh, well, I don't think I can do it. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can do it. You're right.
Right.
Like it goes either way, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, that's good. All right, the next one is a lot of people are going through it, man. We're coming out of a pandemic. Just it feels like everything's kind of not going great, And whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how it's going, but there are people that are going through it right now. And what would you tell them? The things that really helped you, and what you wish you would have known then that you know now.
It's very simple for me, Trent. It is an issue of trust. I think like if you've never come to a place of trust, which really is faith in God, my like biggest like heart message to any person would be that like he's trustworthy and you can put your faith and your trust in him. And that it's a
Mm,
moment of surrender and it's can be scary, but he has proven, I mean, never in a million years, Trent, what I've thought when I was in the valley, if somebody were to say, hey, in 3 years, Mellisa, you're going to be on the Kelly Clarkson show and have this following and be booked on podcasts and speak.
yeah,
But like it really is. I think, it's and different mountaintops are for different people. But I think if I could say encourage somebody, it would be like put your trust in God, and
mm,
He will lead you and direct you on your path and your journey.
mm. Yeah. I think that's a really powerful thing, and I think that's part of why they call it the living word. I know I've read a lot of things biblically and glossed over them in different parts of my life, and then gone back and reread them again and went, oh, that means something very different today as
Mhm.
a husband of 25 years, which is now almost 27 Saturday, and and 5 children. Like that lens of 52-year-old Trent, like Trent 52.0, right? Versus Trent 18.0. with a very different lens when I'm reading those words going, "But well, how's that affect me? I don't ever wanna be a dad," or like, I wasn't you. I wanted to be a dad. So, um, so I was, all right, so let's go to the last question,
Okay.
which is, what haven't we covered today that you want people to know? People wanna win, and that's not easy. You
Mhm.
know, no one said that road was gonna be simple or, you know, unicorns and rainbows, right? So, what would you tell someone who has that really needs to know something on this journey to victory in this life? What do they need to know as they go that we really haven't talked about yet?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to just tell you, it's one of my favorite. This was instrumental in helping me. And I touched on it a little bit, but I got it from this book that I wrote from Erwin McManus. It's called The Artisan's Soul. And he says, in life, there are two people that he finds the most boring. And the first group of people are people that have never gone through anything. They live like these plastic Teflon lives and they've just never gone through anything. They're boring. The
Yeah.
second group of people are people that have gone through something really horrific or really tragic, but they've stayed in their pain. Those people are boring. But the people that live their best life are people that maybe have had, like the rosy beginning and then something tragic happens, but then they find a way to come through it. And that is like an amazing story. Those people live the most profound, most interesting lives. And so, like, what I would say is, I believe that God writes our story. And if it's not good yet, it's not done. So if you are in the middle of the pain and the hardship and the tragedy, you will come through it. And just know that you're in the middle of an amazing story that you are going to tell one day, that is going to inspire hope, that's going to encourage people on their journey. So just stick it out.
I love it. I love it. If you're breathing, it's not done.
It's not
It
done.
it's not done. So, I love that, and there are so many good stories of people that started it
Yeah.
17 years.
I think I'm having some internet connection issues, guys. Uh-oh. I don't know what to do.
There she
Are you
is.
there?
That
I'm
was
here.
weird. I've
I'm
never
here.
seen that happen before. Okay, for everyone, thank you, Mellisa. I'm wrapping here. Great show. Another, great episode of Winners Find a Way. Just thrilled that my good friend Mellisa Hughes could join us. Thank you so much. Again, Mellisa, where can I find you?
Mellisa Lee Hughes on TikTok, Mellisa Lee Hughes on Instagram, Mellisa at Mellisa Lee Hughes for my email.
Awesome. For those out there, thank you for joining the Winners Find a Way show. Like us, share us, tell all your friends, everybody about us. And we hope that you can always join. We are here to educate, give good information, ask for nothing more than a share. So we will always bring you good stuff like the one percenters of Mellisa. Watch for our Pyramid of Leadershipity coming out soon. Look for athletic influencer marketing and the AIM NIL space and our NIL DIY that's coming out, NILD, which we're all excited about. You can check that out soon too. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time on the Winners Find a Way show every Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern and 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Mellisa Hughes, thanks so much. Good to see you. All right, now you have to say goodbye to your TikTok followers.
Goodbye, my TikTok friends.